Defiance rising. The Helios Dominion hung in the void like a slumbering beast, its obsidian hull absorbing the faint starlight rather than reflecting it. Not a traditional warship by any standard. No bulky thrusters or obvious weapon placements marred its sleek, almost organic design. The vessel looked more like a predator from Earth's ancient oceans, streamlined and deadly, measuring just under a kilometer from bow to stern. Captain Kate Reeves stood at the viewport of the bridge, her reflection ghosted against the backdrop of stars. At 42, she carried the weight of command in the lines around her eyes and the silver threading through her close-cropped black hair. 20 years in the Terran Defense Force had earned her this post, command of humanity's most advanced warship, a vessel so revolutionary it wasn't supposed to exist. "Status report," she called, turning away from the view. Lieutenant Commander Eli Chen looked up from his console, his dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of holographic displays. "All systems nominal, Captain. Quantum drive is stable at 98.6% efficiency. Shield resonance harmonics are within parameters." "And our guests?" Kate asked, her voice dropping. Chen's expression tightened, still demanding to speak with you, rather insistently. Kate nodded, having expected nothing less. "Tell them I'll be down shortly." The guests were 3 representatives from the Galactic Council, 2 Meridari with their characteristic blue-tinged skin and faceted eyes, and 1 Volus, a hulking amphibian species that had helped found the Council centuries before humans had achieved faster-than-light travel. They had arrived unannounced at the Proxima shipyard, where the Helios Dominion was undergoing its final tests, demanding an immediate inspection. Kate made her way through the ship's sleek corridors, the lighting adjusting automatically to her presence. The Helios wasn't just powerful, it was intelligent, designed with neural networks that learned and adapted. Another feature the Council would undoubtedly object to. Security Chief Maya Santos waited outside the conference room, her hand resting casually on the particle beam pistol at her hip. At 35, Santos had the build of a career soldier and eyes that missed nothing. "They're agitated," Santos remarked. "The Volus keeps secreting some kind of mucus when he gets worked up. It's not doing wonders for the upholstery." "Noted," Kate replied with a slight smile. "Let's not keep them waiting any longer." The conference room doors slid open silently. The 3 council representatives stood as she entered, the Volus. Ambassador Grawl, towering over his Meridari counterparts. "Captain Reeves," Grawl rumbled, voice like stones grinding together. "We have been waiting for 97 minutes. "My apologies, Ambassador," Kate replied smoothly. "Command of a vessel like the Helios comes with numerous responsibilities. A vessel like the Helios shouldn't exist at all," snapped one of the Meridari, the one who had introduced himself as Inspector Thillen. "This ship violates 17 separate provisions of the Galactic Armament Treaty." Kate took a seat at the head of the table, keeping her expression neutral. "Perhaps you'd care to elaborate on these supposed violations." Thillen's faceted eyes gleamed with indignation. "Supposed? Your quantum singularity drive alone exceeds power output limitations by a factor of 12. The neural architecture of your ship's systems breaches AI restriction protocols. And those are merely the beginning. The treaty you reference was designed to prevent destabilizing arms races," Kate countered. "Humanity never agreed to hamstring its defensive capabilities. The treaty exists to prevent exactly this kind of escalation." The second Meridari, Diplomat Vereen, interjected more calmly. "When one species develops weapons this far beyond established parameters, others feel threatened and follow suit. We've seen the pattern repeat across millennia." Kate leaned forward. "And yet the Council has allowed the Thraxi Dominion to fortify their border with human space for the past decade. Their Nova bombs and gravity lances violate those same treaties, but I don't see inspectors in their shipyards." Ambassador Grail's skin flushed a darker green. "The Thraxi have certain historical exemptions, because they were founding members of the Council," Kate finished for him. "While humanity is still seen as the newcomer, the upstart species that needs to be kept in check." Your words, Captain, not mine, Grull replied, his amphibian features impassive. Inspector Phelan tapped a device on his wrist, projecting a holographic document between them. Regardless of your opinions on the matter, I am authorized to present this cease and desist order. The Helios Dominion is to power down its systems immediately and submit to Council oversight pending a full investigation. Kate studied the floating document without reaching for it. And if we refuse, then you would be in direct violation of Council law, Phelan stated. This vessel would be declared illegal, and any planet harboring it would face sanctions. Before Kate could respond, her comms unit chimed with an urgent signal. "Excuse me," she said, rising from her chair. She stepped to the corner of the room and sub-vocalized, "Reeves here." Chen's voice came through the implant in her inner ear. "Captain, we've detected 5 vessels dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Thraxi warships, Ravager class." Kate's blood went cold. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. "Battle stations," she ordered. "I'm on my way." She turned back to the Council representatives, who were watching her with varying degrees of suspicion. "It appears we'll have to cut this discussion short. We have unexpected company." Ambassador Grail's throat sac expanded in alarm. "What is happening?" 5 Thraxi warships just entered the system, Kate informed them, already moving toward the door. "You're welcome to take our shuttle back to your vessel, or remain aboard as our guests during what may become a tactical situation." "This is outrageous," Inspector Phelan sputtered. "The Thraxi wouldn't dare attack a system with Council representatives present." "Unless they knew exactly where you'd be," Kate replied coldly. "Security will escort you to the shuttle bay. Make your decision quickly." She left them there, striding rapidly toward the bridge as the ship's alert system activated, bathing the corridors in pulsing amber light. By the time she reached her command chair, the Helios was already bringing its defensive systems online. "On screen," Kate ordered as she took her seat. The main view screen showed 5 angular vessels closing on their position, their hulls bristling with weapon ports. The lead ship was nearly twice the size of the others, its front split into mandible-like projections that housed its primary weapons. "The Thraxi vessels are on an intercept course," reported Lieutenant Kira Yoshida from Tactical. "They're charging weapon systems. No response to hails." "The Council representatives?" Kate asked. "They've opted to remain aboard," Santo's reply from her security station. "They're quite vocal about their diplomatic immunity." Kate's lips thinned. "I'm sure the Thraxi will be impressed." She turned to Chen. "Status of our systems. All combat systems online. Quantum drive is primed. Adaptive shield harmonics are optimized," Chen confirmed. "The ship is ready, Captain. The lead Thraxi vessel is hailing us," Yoshida announced. "Put it through." The screen shifted to show the interior of the Thraxi command center. Fleet Commander Vexker glared at them through compound eyes set in a chitinous face. The mandibles framing his jaw clicked in what Kate had learned was a sign of anticipation among his kind. "Captain Reeves," Vexker greeted, his voice translated through a speech synthesizer. "A fortuitous encounter." "Is it?" Kate replied evenly. 5 warships against 1 vessel undergoing trials hardly seems like a chance meeting. Vexker's mandibles clicked again. "We received intelligence about an illegal weapon platform in this sector. The Council has authorized us to investigate and, if necessary, neutralize the threat. There are Council representatives aboard this vessel right now," Kate informed him. "I'm sure they'd be interested to hear about this authorization." "A regrettable complication," Vexker conceded without concern. "But the safety of the galactic community must take precedence over a few diplomats. Power down your systems, Captain. We will board and secure your vessel." Kate met his alien gaze steadily. "I think not, Commander. The Helios Dominion is a Terran Defense Force vessel in Terran space. You have no jurisdiction here." "Your naivety is amusing," Vexker responded. "The Council has already declared your vessel illegal. You exist outside of protection now." His mandibles spread wide. You have 2 minutes to comply before we open fire. The transmission cut off abruptly. They're deploying in attack formation, Yoshida reported tensely. Targeting systems are locking onto us. Kate's mind raced through options. The Helios was powerful, but untested in actual combat. 5 Thraxi Ravagers were more than a match for any conventional human warship, and if they engaged here, they'd risked the shipyard and the thousands of personnel aboard it. Status of the quantum drive, she asked. Fully operational, Chen confirmed. But Captain, jumping this close to the shipyard is risky, I know, Kate finished for him, but less risky than a firefight in a crowded space dock. She straightened in her chair. Alert the shipyard of our intention to jump. Then plot a course to the Erebus Nebula. Santos looked up sharply. Captain, that's in disputed territory. Exactly, Kate nodded. The Thraxi won't follow us there without significant reinforcements. It will buy us time. She turned to communications and send a tight beam message to TDF Command. Inform them of the situation and request instructions. Message sent. Yoshida confirmed after a moment. Shipyard control is clearing nearby traffic for our jump. Thraxi vessels are in firing range, Chen warned. 1 minute until their deadline. Kate watched the enemy ships on the tactical display, noting their positioning. They were spreading out to prevent escape, but they hadn't anticipated what the Helios was truly capable of. Begin power-up sequence for the quantum drive, she ordered. Shields to maximum. The bridge hummed as the ship channeled enormous energy into its revolutionary drive system. Unlike conventional FTL drives that pushed through space, the Helios created a localized fold in spacetime, allowing it to transition between points with minimal energy expenditure. 30 seconds to Thraxi deadline. Chen counted down. Drive at 85% and climbing, reported the engineering officer. Kate tapped her command console, opening a shipwide channel. All hands, secure for quantum transition. Thraxi vessels are powering weapons, Yoshida warned. Detecting energy spikes consistent with plasma cannons and mass drivers. 15 seconds to jump capability, engineering called out. The lead Thraxi ship is firing, Yoshida shouted. A massive energy beam lanced out from the Thraxi flagship, striking the Helios's forward shields. The ship shuddered, but the adaptive shield harmonics adjusted instantly, dispersing the energy. Shields holding at 92%, Chen reported, a note of surprise in his voice. The adaptive algorithms are working. All Thraxi vessels firing now, Yoshida updated, her fingers flying over her tactical console. Multiple impacts hammered the Helios, each one causing the lights to flicker briefly. The ship's intelligence rerouted power automatically, strengthening shields where they were weakest without needing human input. Drive at 100%, engineering announced. Ready to jump on your command. Kate gripped the arms of her chair as another volley struck them. Execute. Space itself seemed to bend around the Helios Dominion. Stars streaked, and then vanished as the ship slipped between the fabric of spacetime. The Thraxi warships, their weapons still firing, suddenly found themselves shooting at empty space. The transition lasted seconds but felt like an eternity. When normal space reasserted itself, the view screen showed the swirling gases of the Erebus Nebula, massive clouds of dust and ionized gas that would mask their presence from long-range sensors. Transition complete, Chen confirmed, relief evident in his voice. All systems functioning within parameters. Kate allowed herself a moment to breathe before asking, damage report. Minimal, Chen replied after checking his readouts. Shield generators 7 and 12 show some strain, but they're already regenerating. No hull breaches or critical systems damage. The ship performed better than simulations predicted, Santos observed, an unusual note of admiration in her typically stoic voice. Kate nodded, but her mind was already on their next move. I want a full tactical assessment. The Thraxi knew exactly where we'd be and when. That level of intelligence suggests we have a serious security breach. The door to the bridge slid open, and Ambassador Grohl ducked his large frame through the entrance, followed by the two Meridary officials. Captain Reeves. Grohl rumbled, his amphibian features contorted in what might have been anger. Your actions constitute a serious diplomatic incident, fleeing from council representatives. Saved your lives, Kate interrupted firmly. Or did you miss the part where your Thraxi allies were willing to destroy this ship with you aboard? Tholin's faceted eyes flashed. The Thraxi would never. They just did, Kate cut him off again. And you're either complicit or being used. Either way, we have a problem. Varine, the more measured of the Meridari, stepped forward. Captain, the Council genuinely seeks to prevent an arms race that could destabilize the sector. Your ship's capabilities are precisely what humanity needs to defend itself, Kate finished. The Thraxi have been probing our borders for years. Today proves they're ready to move beyond probing. She turned to Santos. Escort our guests to secured quarters. They're not prisoners, but they're not to have access to communications or sensitive areas of the ship. As Santos led the protesting officials away, Kate turned back to her crew. The initial crisis was past, but she knew the real battle was just beginning. The Helios Dominion, humanity's most advanced warship, had just been declared illegal by the very institution meant to keep peace among the stars. And somewhere out there, the Thraxi fleet was already hunting them. Reckoning point. 3 days in the Erebus Nebula had given the crew of the Helios Dominion time to make minor repairs and assess their situation, but Kate Reeves knew they couldn't hide forever. The nebula's electromagnetic interference masked them from long-range sensors, but it was only a matter of time before Thraxi scout ships found them. Kate stood in the ship's war room, studying the holographic display of the sector. Beyond the nebula lay Thraxi-controlled space to the galactic north, Council neutral zones to the east, and human territory to the south. Our options are limited, Chen observed, standing beside her. TDF Command recommends we return to Earth for a full debriefing. Where we'd be easy targets, Kate replied, shaking her head. The moment we leave the nebula, every Thraxi vessel in the sector will be after us. Santos leaned forward, her expression grim. And we can't be certain who in our own command structure might be compromised. The Thraxi knew exactly when to strike. The door slid open, and Dr. Leila Murakami, the ship's chief scientist, entered. At 56, she was the oldest senior officer aboard, her expertise in quantum physics having been instrumental in developing the ship's revolutionary drive system. Captain, Murakami acknowledged with a nod. I've completed my analysis of the Council's cease and desist order. And? Kate prompted. Murakami's lips curved in a slight smile. It's interesting what people hide in the fine print. The order specifically targets the Helios's quantum singularity drive and neural architecture, but makes no mention of our adaptive shield technology or phase shift weapon systems. Why focus on just those systems? Chen asked. Because, Murakami explained, those are the technologies the Thraxi can't replicate. Our intelligence suggests they've been trying to develop similar systems for decades without success. Kate's eyes narrowed. So this isn't about treaty violations. It's about eliminating a technological advantage. Precisely, Murakami confirmed. The Council's own records show they've overlooked comparable advancements by other species when it served their interests. Kate turned to Santos. What about our guests? Have they revealed anything useful? Not intentionally, Santos replied. But the Volus ambassador's aide let slip that there's a council session scheduled for next week where humanity's status will be discussed. Without any human representatives present, Chen added darkly. Kate studied the star map again, her decision crystallizing. We need leverage and proof of what's really happening here. She pointed to a location just beyond the nebula's edge. What's this? Chen leaned closer. That's Outpost Sigma 9. Officially, it's a Thraxi research station. Unofficially, our intelligence suspects it's a weapons development facility. How convenient, Kate murmured. Prepare a scouting mission. I want to know exactly what the Thraxi are working on there. Santos raised an eyebrow. That's well into Thraxi space, Captain. If we're detected, we won't use the Helios, Kate clarified. We'll take a shuttle with minimal crew. The nebula extends close enough to give us cover for most of the approach. She looked around at her officers. I'll lead the mission myself. Captain, Chen protested. Protocol dictates. Protocol went out the airlock when the Thraxi tried to destroy us. Kate replied firmly. I need to see this for myself. 6 hours later, Kate piloted a modified stealth shuttle through the outer wisps of the nebula, accompanied by Santos and a tactical specialist named Ravi Patil. The shuttle systems were passive, emitting minimal energy signatures that would be difficult to distinguish from the nebula's natural electromagnetic fluctuations. Approaching the edge of the nebula, Kate announced quietly, though there was no one who could overhear them in the vacuum of space. Outpost Sigma 9 should be visible on passive sensors now. Santos studied her display. On reading a significant installation, multiple structures, defensive arrays, her brow furrowed, and unusual energy signatures. Whatever they're working on, it's drawing massive power. Can we get closer without being detected? Kate asked. Patil nodded. If we follow this path along the nebula's edge, we should be able to approach within visual range. Kate adjusted their course, easing the shuttle along the route Patil indicated. As they drew closer, the outpost came into view, a sprawling complex of interconnected structures orbiting a small barren moon. Weapon emplacements dotted its exterior, and several Thraxi vessels patrolled nearby. That's a lot of security for a research station, Santos observed dryly. Kate maneuvered the shuttle behind a large chunk of debris, likely a fragment of the moon that had broken off long ago. From this position, they had a clear view of the outpost without exposing themselves. Patil, start scanning. I want to know everything about that facility. For several minutes, the tactical specialist worked in silence, the shuttle's passive sensors gathering data. Then he straightened, his expression troubled. Captain, I'm detecting quantum resonance patterns similar to our own dry system. But they're unstable. And there's something else. He manipulated his controls, enhancing a section of the display. That structure at the center of the complex, it's housing what appears to be a prototype weapon. Based on the energy patterns, it's designed to create localized ruptures in space-time. A weapon that tears holes in reality, Kate murmured. That would violate every weapons treaty in existence, and make our ship look like a pleasure cruiser by comparison, Santos added grimly. Kate was about to respond when a proximity alert flashed silently on her console. We've got company. Thraxi patrol vessel on an intercept course. They've spotted us, Santos asked, hands moving to the shuttle's minimal defensive controls. I don't think so, Kate replied, studying the patrol's trajectory. They appear to be on a standard sweep, but they'll pass within visual range. We could retreat back into the nebula, Patil suggested. Kate considered their options. If they moved now, the sudden acceleration might draw attention. If they stayed hidden behind the debris, they might avoid detection, but if the patrol decided to investigate the fragment, we stay put, she decided. Power down everything except life support and passive sensors. If they follow standard patrol procedures, they'll pass by without coming close enough to spot us. The shuttle went dark, the only illumination coming from essential displays. Through the viewport, they watched as the Thraxi vessel, a sleek, chitinous craft with weapon ports along its spine, moved through space with predatory grace. For a tense minute, it seemed like the gamble would pay off. The patrol maintained its course, passing the debris field without deviation. Then, without warning, it slowed. They're scanning the debris field, Patil whispered unnecessarily. Kate's mind raced. They couldn't outrun a patrol craft, and the shuttle's minimal armaments would be useless against a military vessel. Prepare to power up engines, she ordered quietly. If they spot us, we make a run for the nebula. It's our only chance. The Thraxi vessel edged closer, its scanning beams visible now as faint blue lights sweeping across the debris. One of those beams would inevitably find them. Suddenly, the patrol crafts all lit up with impacts. From the opposite side of the outpost, energy weapons lanced through space, striking the Thraxi vessel with surgical precision. Within seconds, its engines were disabled, leaving it drifting helplessly. "What the hell?" Santos breathed. A new ship appeared on their sensors, moving swiftly from behind the moon. It was smaller than the Thraxi patrol craft, with a design Kate didn't recognize, all curves and flowing lines, like liquid metal frozen in mid-motion. "Unknown vessel approaching the patrol craft," Paddle reported, "not matching any known configuration in our database." They watched as the mysterious ship extended what appeared to be a docking tube, attaching itself to the disabled Thraxi vessel. After less than a minute, it detached and accelerated away. They boarded them, Santos realized. Hit and run. Before Kate could respond, their communication system activated of its own accord, bypassing the shuttle's security protocols. "Terran vessel," a synthesized voice announced. "We have neutralized the immediate threat. If you wish to avoid capture, follow us. We're transmitting coordinates now." The three humans exchanged looks of disbelief. "It could be a trap," Santos warned. "Or it could be the break we need," Kate countered. She made her decision quickly. "Power up engines. We'll follow at a distance, ready to divert if necessary." The mysterious vessel led them deeper into the nebula, following a path that seemed to navigate the densest electromagnetic disturbances with ease. After 20 minutes, they approached what appeared to be a small asteroid, partially hidden within a particularly dense cloud of ionized gas. As they drew closer, a section of the asteroid's surface shimmered and disappeared, revealing a hangar bay carved into the rock. "Some kind of holographic camouflage," Paddle observed, impressed despite his caution. The mysterious ship entered the hangar. After a moment's hesitation, Kate followed, guiding their shuttle into the hidden base. The interior was surprisingly well equipped, a proper docking facility with atmospheric containment fields and maintenance equipment. As their shuttle settled onto the deck, Kate saw a diverse group waiting for them, representatives of at least 3 different species, none of them Thraxi. "I count 12 individuals," Santos reported, checking her weapon discreetly. "Mixed species, armed but not in an aggressive posture." "Let's find out who our mysterious saviors are," Kate said, rising from her seat. "Stay alert." They exited the shuttle cautiously. The hangar's atmosphere was breathable for humans, if slightly more humid than they were accustomed to. A figure stepped forward from the waiting group, humanoid, but with pale, almost translucent skin and large almond-shaped eyes. Kate recognized the species as Tella, one of the younger races in the galactic community. "Captain Reeves." The Tella greeted her, speaking accented but clear English. "I am Velen. Welcome to Sanctuary." Kate didn't bother asking how the Tella knew her identity. "You have us at a disadvantage." Velen inclined his head. "That is often our preferred position. We are the Concordants, those who oppose the Council's selective enforcement of its own laws." "Rebels?" Santos asked bluntly. "Reformers," Velen corrected. "We seek balance in a system increasingly dominated by the older species and their agendas." Kate studied the diverse group. Besides the Tella, she recognized Isharin with their ridge-lined faces and what appeared to be a Corvian, a species known for their technical expertise. Others were unfamiliar to her. "You saved us from detection," Kate acknowledged. "Thank you. But why?" "Because your Helios Dominion represents something the Council fears," Velen replied. "Genuine innovation that might shift the balance of power." Another figure stepped forward, a human woman with close-cropped gray hair and piercing blue eyes. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar to Kate. "We've been watching the Thraxi for years," the woman said, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to command. "They've been developing illegal weapons while using the Council to suppress other species' defensive technologies." Admiral Chen, Kate realized with shock, recognizing the former head of Terran Defense Force Research and Development, who had supposedly died in a shuttle accident 3 years earlier. The Admiral nodded. Reports of my death were politically expedient. When I discovered what the Thraxi were planning, certain elements within our own government found it simpler to silence me than to confront the truth. And what truth is that? Kate asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer. That the Thraxi are preparing for war, Admiral Chen stated flatly. Not just with humanity, but with any species they can't control through the Council. They've been using their influence to ensure potential rivals remain technologically disadvantaged. Velen gestured toward a doorway leading deeper into the base. We have evidence you should see, and I believe you have data from your reconnaissance that might complement our own. As they followed their hosts through the asteroid base, Kate's mind raced with implications. If what they were saying was true, the Helios wasn't a treaty violation. It was a necessary defense against a carefully orchestrated Thraxi aggression. In a spacious command center carved from the asteroid's interior, Velen displayed a holographic star map showing Thraxi fleet movements over the past 5 years. The pattern was unmistakable, a gradual buildup along borders with multiple species, including humans. They've been installing these, Admiral Chen added, bringing up schematics of a device. Quantum disruption arrays capable of disabling most conventional FTL drives within a star system. Once activated, they would trap opposing fleets while allowing Thraxi ships to maneuver freely. Because Thraxi drives use a different principle, Kate realized. But our quantum singularity drive would be immune to their disruption, Admiral Chen confirmed, which is why they're so desperate to eliminate the Helios before it can be replicated. Kate shared their findings from Outpost Sigma 9, and Admiral Chen's expression darkened as she reviewed the data. This confirms our worst fears, the Admiral said grimly. They're developing a weapon that could tear open subspace itself. The destructive potential is incalculable. We need to get this information to Earth, Kate insisted, and to the Council. Surely not all of them are complicit. The problem, Velen explained, is evidence. The Thraxi are careful to maintain plausible deniability, and they've spent decades building influence within the Council. But the Helios, Admiral Chen said thoughtfully, could change the equation. If we could demonstrate that your ship was developed specifically to counter Thraxi aggression rather than threaten the Council. Kate considered the implications. We'd need to expose the Thraxi weapons program definitively, and do it in a way the Council couldn't ignore. The Council is convening in 3 days, Velen informed them. On Meridar Prime, all major species will be represented, including the Thraxi, Kate noted. Admiral Chen's eyes met Kate's, a plan already forming between them. Captain Reeves, I believe it's time for the Helios Dominion to make a more public appearance. 2 days later, the Helios Dominion emerged from the Erebus Nebula, its systems fully operational and its mission clear. Using data provided by the Concordance, they had plotted a course to Meridar Prime that would avoid major Thraxi patrol routes. On the bridge, Kate reviewed final preparations with her officers. The Council representatives, still in secured quarters, Santos reported. They're not happy about it. They'll be less happy when they learn how they've been used, Kate remarked. Initiate quantum drive. Let's show the galaxy what this ship can really do. The journey to Meridar Prime took less than 6 hours, a distance that would have required days for conventional ships. As they approached the Meridari system, long-range sensors detected increased activity. Multiple Thraxi vessels in orbit around Meridar Prime, Yoshida reported from Tactical. They're establishing a defensive perimeter around the Council chambers. As expected, Kate acknowledged. Begin passive scanning of their systems. I want to know if they've installed quantum disruption arrays in this system. The scan confirmed their suspicions. Hidden platforms throughout the system, ready to trap any ships attempting to flee. They're preparing for something big, Chen observed grimly. The Thraxi wouldn't risk such overt military positioning unless they were ready to move. Kate nodded, which makes our timing all the more critical. Open a channel to the council chambers. After a moment of preparation, the main view screen displayed the interior of the Grand Council Hall on Meridar Prime, a vast amphitheater where representatives from dozens of species gathered. At the center was the High Council itself, 12 members representing the oldest and most influential species. The Thraxi Councilor, identifiable by his ornate carapace, was currently addressing the assembly. "Must act decisively against this human provocation," he was saying. "The illegal warship represents a clear threat to galactic stability that cannot be." "Councilors," Kate interrupted, her voice echoing through the chamber as the Helios's transmission overrode the local systems. "I am Captain Kate Reeves of the Terran Defense Force vessel Helios Dominion." The chamber erupted in commotion. The Thraxi councilor's mandibles clicked rapidly in obvious agitation. "This is an outrage," he chittered. "Security, terminate this transmission." "They can't," Kate informed him calmly, "just as they can't prevent what I'm about to show you." With a gesture, she instructed Chen to transmit the data package they had prepared. Detailed scans of the Thraxi outpost, evidence of the quantum disruption arrays, and communications intercepts revealing the Thraxi's true intentions. The Helios Dominion was not built to threaten the Council, Kate continued as the data scrolled across the chamber's displays. It was developed as a response to a Thraxi weapons program that violates every principle the Council claims to uphold. The evidence was compelling, but Kate could see uncertainty on many councilors' faces. The Thraxi representative was already dismissing it as human fabrications. "Words and doctored data prove nothing," the Thraxi councilor declared. "This is exactly the kind of deception we have come to expect from humans." Kate had anticipated this. Then perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing. "Councilors, I call your attention to the Thraxi fleet currently surrounding your chambers. Ask yourselves why they've established a military presence at what should be a diplomatic gathering." She nodded to Chen, who activated the next phase of their plan. Throughout the Meridari system, the hidden quantum disruption arrays suddenly powered up, not because the Thraxi had activated them, but because the Helios had remotely triggered their test protocols using codes provided by the Concordance. On Meridar Prime, alarms sounded as ships in orbit reported drive system failures. The only vessels unaffected were the Thraxi warships, exactly as Kate had predicted.